My father was raised in the era when black niggas couldn't claim Native American.
You don't have to try to be something you're not.
Trying to be something I'm not? Trying to be proud of my African heritage? That's being something I'm not, then fine.
My grandmother was a full-blooded Iroquois.
And you
Had to reach into an African dictionary to find a name that would make you proud.
As a native Black American and a proud member of the Muscogee Creek Nation, I understand the importance of tracing your lineage. Help me help you discover your roots with a personalized genealogy consultation. Paper trail genealogy matters. DNA tests can't prove ethnicity or tribal affiliation. You must search through paper records to dive deep into your family heritage. During the meeting, I will teach you how to navigate the genealogy process with ease. You'll learn how to link tribal affiliation with your ancestors, and I'll show you the step-by-step process I went through to gaining tribal citizenship. Take the first step to unlocking your past. To book a consultation, send an email to mike@keymediapro.com.
Okay, so the people you come from, so I didn't use the word claim, so the people you come from, wouldn't they get a different...
Are you talking about my tribe?
So would
Do you
your tribe
maybe want to
get something
rephrase
different
that and
versus...
say my tribe? Okay, there you go.
Or wouldn't your tribe get
what's
something
your question?
different than the people who descend from the African slaves that were brought over?
I don't understand your question. Not all
Like,
of
would
my
it be
tribal
to- would it-
members were slaves. So what are you talking about?
I'm talking about, like, would they get different set-asides based on the fact that they were two different groups?
Would who get two different set-asides?
The people you come from.
All right, guys, I'm just gonna try to get to a conclusion with him because I'm just losing brain cells talking to him at this point. Sir, it goes like this: if you were a slave in America, regardless of your ethnicity or heritage, you should be due reparations. Whether you are a European that descends from the 300,000 European slaves that came over, or whether you're an African and descend from the 300,000 African slaves that come over, or whether you're a native Black American who was reclassified and placed on plantations, regardless of your ethnicity, your phenotype, or your DNA genetic makeup, if you can trace your lineage to a slave on an American plantation, then you should be owed reparations. It's that simple.
I didn't really ask that. I was just saying, would they have different types of? I didn't say they wouldn't deserve it. I'm just...
You tell me, what
have
different types of reparations do you think people should receive, sir? You tell me.
I would say, like I was telling you before, Native Americans typically sign peace treaties with the United States. That was the typical agreement with them.
You're not giving an answer. Make it simple, give it fast, make it quick. You're pondering over whether certain slaves should get a different form of reparations. So tell me what the difference is. Should African slaves get 400,000 and Native slaves only get 200,000? What the fuck are you talking about? Plainly state what the difference in reparations package is that you're proposing.
Yeah, I'm calling in from North Carolina.
All right, Andre, let us know what's on your mind.
Well, I know the last time we discussed the whole notion about population growth within the native population, or like, in terms of this indigenous thing. And what I discovered is that, let's see, what did I discover? Yeah, as far as like some African Americans have native.
Hey Dre, before you tell us about new research you've done since our last interaction, do you maybe want to make a comment that's relative to the video we just watched, and then you can have the floor to make any other comments?
So as far as like those surnames, I'm just kind of confused because I'm thinking that those are more Anglo names. Why would they be named?
If you're confused, then you should watch the video that I linked in my chat to gain an understanding. Are you asking me to educate you?
I'm just saying that, like,
it's a yes or a no. Are you asking Mike to educate you?
So you don't believe that?
Oh Lord, we're gonna try again. Jesus, I just give everybody so much rope, and then they hang us each and every time. Sir, do you want to ask me questions so I can educate you? Yes or no?
Yes, man. Yes, man.
Okay, cool. God damn it. It's like pulling teeth with these people. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I really am not feeling charitable. I'm not feeling charitable in the slightest. I don't feel like educating this man. I think we've spoke to him before. It was like nails on a chalkboard, but I run my program like the Roman Colosseum. So if you guys want me to entertain this conversation and have this discourse, then go ahead and throw 5 on it. If somebody in the next minute or two throws 5 on the Cash App or the PayPal, then I will have this conversation, not because I want to, not because I think I'll get anything out of it, but because my audience will be entertained by it. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know what to do. Come on, vote with your dollars. Or hey, 5 people can put $1 on it, however you want to. But Lord, oh Lord, I just can't talk to this man for free 99. I gotta at least get me a mocha cappuccino out of it, y'all. Can I at least get a mocha out of it? And while we wait to see if the audience actually wants to hear this interaction, Dre, what's your first question?
Okay, so you said that 4% of the African slaves were brought over here, right? Okay, so my question to you is, can you explain the 1790 census where it says that they counted 697,624 slaves, and in 1860, the 8th census counted 3,953,760 of them. So are you saying that we still have more indigenous blood, or are you saying that we have more of maybe the African? Just kind of clear that up for me.
Sir, I need you to clear that question up for me. That was a mouthful. We got to keep things very, 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 very simple, sir. Simple. So let's try again, Dre. A question should be a sentence. It shouldn't be a paragraph. So what's your question again?
So you said that 4% of African slaves come over here, right? But are you aware of the fact that more of them were imported here over time, and that some American-born ones were also rapidly growing within that population?
Is there any way for you to make the question just a little more simpler? It sounded like you said something like, well, Mike, you say 4% of the slaves came here from Africa, but there was some that were also sent somewhere else, or I'm just still not really understanding your question.
Well, according to what I researched, it was saying that a continued importation of new slaves from Africa and the Caribbean came here, and then the natural population growth, especially American-born slaves who live longer and bore more children, also grew the population.
Okay. Can you tell us what that source is?
The source is from the National Library of Medicine.
Do you think this is it? From 20 and
that's
to
it. Yeah, that's
okay.
it.
Let's take a look. And this is from the National Library of Medicine.
Yes.
I really want to do some more digging on that. I mean, it's kind of weird to me that the Library of Medicine is talking about slavery statistics, but let's go ahead and read a bit of this article. It says, from 20 and odd to 10 million, the growth of the slave population in the United States. This research note describes the growth of the slave population in the United States and develops several new measures of its size and growth, including an estimate of the total number of slaves who ever lived in the United States. Estimates of the number of birth and slave imports are provided in 10-year increments between 1619 and 1860, and in 1-year increments between 1861 and 1865. The results highlight the importance of natural increase to the rapid growth of the U.S. slave population and indicate that approximately 10 million slaves lived in the United States. where they contributed 410 billion hours of labor. Damn, they know how many billions of hours of labor we contributed, but we still can't get no reparations. Okay. All right, that's interesting. Let me see. A concluding discussion highlights a few descriptive statistics historians might find useful, including the cumulative number of slaves who lived in the United States by decade, and the proportion of slaves who were living at various moments in U.S. history, including shortly after the ratification of the Constitution in 1788 and at the start of the American Civil War in 1861. And you know what? Before we keep reading, I want to see who wrote this. Where's this coming from? Slaveryable, author manuscript, published, edited form 2020. We're gonna do a little bit of clicking around for a moment. Let's see. Okay, J. David Hecker. Abstract. This research note describes the growth of the slave population. That's basically the same thing we just read. Similar articles. They got some graphs here. Let's look at these graphs for a second. So this is by decade. This is supposed to be the rate of natural increase. So apparently the increase was down, and then it was up, then it was down, and then it was just gradually up and up and up, and then it plateaued a bit. Okay. Let's go back to the original article. In August 1619, the English privateer White Lion brought a cargo of 20 and odd Negroes captured from a Portuguese slave ship. And we're just going to speed read some things that really stick out to us. In 1790, the first census of the United States counted 697,000 slaves. 1860, it counted 3 million slaves. They say that the remarkable growth was the result of two factors: continued importation of new slaves from Africa and the Caribbean, and two, natural population growth, especially among American-born slaves, who lived longer lives and bore more children than African-born slaves. Although slave imports accounted for most of the population growth in the 17th century and continued to be a significant factor until the federal government abolished the legal importation of slaves in 1808, natural population growth was the more important of the two factors. Now, before we keep reading, something that immediately jumps out to me is, let me see, how would I type this down? Of a plantation slave, because they're saying that there was they're saying that, you know, there was such a huge natural population boom with these slaves, i.e. these slaves were having a lot of children, and those children were surviving to adulthood and having a lot more children. And the first question that comes to my mind is, what was the average life expectancy of a slave on a plantation? And it says here that there was high infant and childhood death rate. So I already kind of immediately sense a bit of a paradox. At the same time, they want us to believe that there was high infant and childhood death rates. We're also supposed to believe there was a catastrophically huge natural birth boom. Okay. It says the average life expectancy of a slave at birth was just 21 or 22 years. Damn. So it's not like the slave girl is living to her 50s and she's popping out, one kid every 9 months until she's 50. I mean, slaves are only living until they're 21 or 22 years.
I mean, but they're still old enough to bear children, though.
Don't interrupt me while we're doing the research on the source that you just presented. So again, I didn't realize until right now that slaves barely lived to 21 or 22. It says the white folks was just living to 40 or 43. So yeah, this is a hell of a slave boom. Not only was it supposed to be a natural birth boom, but they were having all these babies before they died at 21. All right. Let's keep reading. It says, at the outbreak of the American Civil War in 1861, slaves in the United States comprised about 50% of the slaves living in the Western Hemisphere, despite the U.S. being the destination of less than 4% of the slaves. Oh, so even this article does cite that the official narrative is 4% of the slaves came here. And again, it's trying to rationalize why, hey, only 4% of the slaves came here, but there's supposed to be so many slaves living here in the Western Hemisphere, and we're supposed to believe this article when it says that these slaves was just having hella babies. You know, they was dying, they was dropping like flies. that back in the day, women was having 8, 9, 10 kids because, you know, half of them aren't even going to make it to their 3rd birthday. But we supposed to believe that the black folks were just having a population boom. Okay. Let me see what else it says here. In 2019, USA Today published an online graphic feature charting the growth of the slave population in the United States to commemorate the 400th anniversary of the arrival of the slaves in Virginia. Let me see. Although the number of slaves who lived in the United States is of obvious importance to our understanding of the institution's human costs and to the contribution of slave labor to the nation's growth and development, I was unable to find a published estimate and forced to construct my own. Oh. Ding, 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 ding. Guys, I don't know how profound. I don't know if you guys understand how profound that last statement was that I just read, but just take a moment and we're gonna let it sink in. Just take a moment. It'll sink in, guys. It'll sink in. It says, although the number of slaves who lived in the U.S. is of importance, and guys, it's so obviously important that we should know the number of slaves who lived in the U.S. It's so important to our understanding of the institution's human cost and the contribution of slave labor on the nation's growth and development. But guess what? This person was unable to find a published estimate, and they were forced to construct their own.